Welcome to Soulfully Blonde. Do you want to feed your soul and nourish your mind? Tune in for motivating messages and meaningful conversations with glow-getters, soulpreneurs, authors, mentors, and coaches as they share powerful wisdom, dynamic journeys, and inspiration that will ignite your soul to shine its brightest. Now, here is your host, Carol Starr Taylor.
Have you ever struggled to finish a tub of protein powder? Get bored easily with your protein powder flavors? Or are inexperienced with supplements and aren't sure what works for you? Scoop Supplements is your answer. Scoop Supplements is the first and only company to offer protein powder and supplements by the scoop, customized just for you. Choose from a variety of flavors. Select your supplements in any quantity you desire and have it shipped to you. Delivering across North America, Scoops lowers the commitment and increases the variety of your supplements. To learn more about Scoops, you can visit them at scoopsupplements.com or on their Instagram page at Scoop Supplements.
Hey, everybody, it's Carol Starr Taylor here. And today we have an incredible host, and I've been dying to interview since she wrote her book, since we've connected, since even before we met on social media. And so without further ado, I want to introduce to you trailblazer Marci Warhaft. And not only is Marci like one of the most incredible, energetic people I have ever seen in my life. She's a published author. She's a resiliency coach. And she's recognized as an expert on body image and self-esteem. And if you ever follow her on social media, you'll know exactly what I mean. She is the founder of Fit versus Fiction body image workshops and author of the Body Image Survival Guide to Parents. And what you're going to hear about today is her book, and a lot about her book and the courageous journey that she's taken with The Good Stripper, a soccer mom's memoir of lies, loss, and lap dances. Welcome to the show, Marci.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, you're dancing up a storm on social media. You are constantly talking on media about body positivity, about resiliency, and you call yourself a resiliency rebel. So, as opposed to a life coach, why do you coin yourself as a resiliency rebel?
It's funny because I literally had somebody this morning message me through social media and ask me the same question. And she put it so well. She said, from your posts, what I see is you don't tell people what to do. You show them what they're capable of. She said, I've never seen you say you have to do this. And that's the difference, is that I don't feel like I can tell somebody how to live their life. My life certainly didn't go as planned. But one thing that life taught me was about resiliency. One thing that I know is resiliency. And the reason why I'm a resiliency rebel is because I don't see the things the same way that other people do. I don't find that the regular way of looking at things has ever really worked for me. And I used to feel like I was doing something wrong, or there was something wrong with me, because the cliches and the things that we're told all the time, they never fit with me. And so I realized that there was nothing wrong with me. I just saw things differently. And when I embraced that and saw that it worked, I thought there are going to be other people who can benefit from the way I see things. And so I just take people on a different route to resiliency.
That's really interesting, because not fitting in is very common for many trailblazers. And I say this because I hear this all the time from people, and not fitting into that box. And often people can't find their tribe. They have difficulty because they don't fit in. And for the most part, once we get to, I think, a certain point in our lives, we don't want to fit in. We want to stand out. So how do we do that? Like, what do you think the biggest barrier is that people have in holding themselves back and from moving forward?
So there's two questions there. So for one thing, and it's funny because I think that some people do want to break out of that box, but I think there are still way more people who are afraid to. I think that we live in a society where social media is full of memes and quotes saying, just be you, but then ready to say, but not like that. So there's still so much judgment that people are afraid of. And for me, my life completely changed when I honestly truly stopped worrying about what people thought, because that was holding me back. But as far as what holds people back when it comes to resiliency, I think people are stuck dealing with, and it was my issue too. One of the things that kept me from being me up until a couple of years ago, before I wrote my book, was I was still dealing with shame and guilt over my perceived mistakes from the past. I couldn't get past things that I had been through or I had experienced or that I had done. I would think about things from my past and cringe at the thought of it. And I was so afraid of it. And I think it's because so many of us judge what we did then by who we are now. So we look back, now we've learned lessons, we've had experience, we've gained insight. Maybe we have support and tools that we didn't have then. And we look back and go, oh my gosh, how did I do that? Not realizing how much we've grown. So instead of looking back and feeling guilty or shame over things we did, we need to feel compassion for that version of ourselves and understand that at that time, we were doing the best we could with what we had and with what we knew. And now we're different and we would do things differently. So it's not about hating that other version. It's about actually showing that version compassion and not letting past mistakes keep us from being the people that we want to be.
Awesome. If anybody wants to call into the show and you're online and we are live, so you can just click that call button on soulfullyblonde.com. And if you want to dial by phone and ask Marci anything, you can dial 1-844-390-8255. That's 1-844-390-8255, or press that call button and it'll direct you, and Cameron is standing by. So we can definitely take your call. So being a resilience coach and being all of these things, what do you feel is your soul purpose?
I don't think I have a soul purpose. And I mean, that's the truth. I think that is one of the things that gets people into trouble, is when you feel like you have to be one thing and then you have to be perfect at it because it's your thing. And what if that thing changes and we feel like we can't? I've learned, if anything, over the past few years, is that my life changes all the time. I change all the time. I'm a different version of myself every 6 months. And I love that. I think we have to be willing to evolve and change in every way. And so my soul purpose, honestly, which kind of encompasses everything, is just to be as authentic and genuine and as honest as I can be, and to live my life in the way that makes sense to me. I always say, if I get to the end of my life and I'm worrying that I made someone else feel uncomfortable, then I've done something wrong, because I shouldn't be worried about if I lived up to other people's expectations of who they thought I should be. I'm here to just be who I am, and that's going to look different through every phase I go through, and that's okay.
Right. Well, that's true. I mean, yes, we do evolve. But when I look at you, and I look at you as a trailblazer, somebody who is pushing that envelope to teach people by your actions and your words that it's okay to be yourself, that it gives them, it helps them, like, you are your authentic self in every way. And it helps people understand. So I think that is something that you do, that whether it's consciously or unconsciously, you show people and lead the way that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to make those changes. And it's okay to I mean, your journey is your life journey. You're not the same person as you were the day before. So you are leading that way. And, you know, one of the things that I was really thinking about was that there's a popular belief that we need to forgive we need to forgive others so that we can be happy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I literally posted something about this yesterday, and I think I'm up to about 25,000 interactions with it. It's a heavy duty topic. Yes, I have an issue with that. And listen, forgiveness looks different to different people. I think that's important to say. My problem with the statement that we need to forgive people in order to heal, and I know people say it's not for them, it's for you, and you don't even have to tell them. You can say it in the woods, you can say it in your head. It's about forgive. My issue is that is not going to work for everybody. And to tell somebody that there's only one way to heal is unfair. And I know personally, for me, I have found that it is easier in some cases to not forgive things that have happened in the past. Now, there are people that I have forgiven, absolutely. And I'm not saying that you should consume yourself a hate or resentment. That's not okay. But I think it is absolutely okay to acknowledge that somebody mistreated you or betrayed you or abused you, and that is not okay. I think it is okay to say, I don't forgive what happened, because it is reclaiming your self-respect. It is saying to yourself, what they did wasn't okay, and I'm not going to let them have power over me anymore, but I'm releasing that power by taking my life back and my self-worth back. And I am going to use that to move forward. People say that if you don't forgive, it's like an anchor holding you down. No, I say it's a motor moving you forward with strength and compassion. And that is empowering.
What about forgiving yourself?
That is the most important one. That's absolutely, I think the only person that you need to forgive in order to be happy and healthy is yourself. And it's to forgive yourself for putting up with the things that you did, but it's also showing yourself compassion, because there are times when we had no choice, or we thought we had no choice, or sometimes we felt that we deserved that. We didn't deserve better treatment. So again, we were doing the best we could. So we need to forgive ourselves for being in the situations and knowing that we wouldn't let ourselves be in that place again.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel the same way, and I'll like, I believe that. And one of the things, and my listeners will know if they've been following me, that I believe that you have to unbecome to become, and you have to shed all the shit, all the baggage that you have created for yourself, the anger you have for yourself. Because,
but I want to interrupt for one thing, because there's one thing though. I think that anger gets a bad rap, and I know that's not sort of a popular opinion, but here's the thing. So when I talk about the whole forgiveness thing, and people say, oh, you're holding on to grudges, you're holding on to anger. No, I'm not holding grudges. I may be holding people accountable, but I'm not holding grudges. And I think that it is possible to release anger and release resentment without forgiving the people who caused them. But also, it is okay to feel feelings. It is okay to feel anger. Sometimes feeling anger doesn't mean you're an angry person. Feeling sad doesn't mean you're an unhappy person. It just means you're a human being. So right. I don't think that it's fair when people if somebody makes you feel bad because you are feeling angry over something, and they say, well, you know, you're holding on to a grudge and you're not letting it go. The only way to move through it is to feel it. Then you can let it go. But the whole idea of just forgive it and forget it, I think it's completely unrealistic. And then I think you're just pushing those feelings down where they could do the most damage.
Well, I don't think that forgiveness is the forgetting. I think that forgiveness is understanding. I mean, I can give an example for myself. You know, I grew up in an abusive household, so I can forgive. My father had passed, and I can forgive him for having, you know, for doing all these hateful things, verbal abuse and physical abuse. and growing up in this house of horrors, I don't forget, but I can forgive him because I realize that he is a product of his environment. That is his journey. And I can forgive him. It doesn't undo anything, but I can forgive him and realize that, he's a human being, and he was, he made a lot of mistakes, and understand where he was coming from, looking at it. What he did or how he behaved was wrong.
I get that. And I think that that's valid. And I've had that too. There are people in my life that I have forgiven because I also understood their circumstances. But the main point of this is that that's okay for some people, but it will not work for everyone. And everyone has the right to heal in their own way.
Yes. Yeah. There's no, healing is first of all, it's not linear. And second of all, there's no right or wrong way to heal. So
exactly.
to impose your views. So we will, after the break, what we're going to do is we're going to talk and ask Marci about the lessons that she's learned when she published her book and exposed her secrets. Be right back.
This segment of the show is brought to you by Star House Publishing, Inc. Have you always dreamed of writing a book and sharing your story? What's holding you back? Perhaps you've not moved forward because you don't know what to do or who to trust. By choosing to partner with Star House Publishing, Inc., they can help you make your dream of publishing reality with a shelf-quality book. They are an author-focused company taking a collaborative approach with your unique book. Your voice is your gift to the world. It will inspire, inform, motivate, entertain, teach, and emotionally move people to make a difference and change the trajectory of their lives with your words. Their compilation projects offer bundled professional services, including one-on-one coaching with NLP, global distribution to over 70 online retailers. Star House Publishing is currently filling their 14th compilation book, The Soulology Chronicles Glow. Star House Publishing is your complete professional publishing solution. To contact Star House Publishing for your solo book and/or to be a part of the compilation, The Soulology Chronicles Glow, for both men and women, contact starhousepublishing.com.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Carol Starr Taylor with Soulfully Blonde. And today, if you're just joining us, we have Marci Warhaft, and she is a trailblazer, published author, resiliency coach, and body image and self-esteem expert. If you want to call in and ask Marci anything, just click that button and call in. You can call in from the site at soulfullyblonde.com. Or you can dial your phone at 1-844-390-8255. And as promised, after the break, we are going to go deep, girl. We are going to go and talk about your book and the lessons that you learned publishing your book, exposing your secrets, and because I think it really did make a huge difference.
Absolutely. I think the biggest lesson I learned by publishing my book, here's the thing. For years, I let, as I said earlier, fear and shame keep me from being fully me. I was terrified that things from my past that I was ashamed of would come forward. I was afraid that people in my life that I didn't want to know about my past would find out about my past. I felt that I would be judged personally and professionally. I had a lot and it kept me fearful for most of my life. And then I was turning 50 and I thought, I'm done with that. I'm done living in fear and I'm done living with shame. I was more than that. I was more than my secrets. I was more than my failures and my mistakes. And I needed to start seeing myself as my accomplishments and my recovery. And I decided that the only way I could be free is to put out everything, almost every day, not everything, that I had been afraid of. And I had to get to a point in my life where I would be okay with whatever happened. I needed to be okay if I did lose friends, if there were negative repercussions, if there was judgment, I had to be okay with that. And so I had to wait until I was truly forgiving myself for my past. And once I got to that point, I mean, I'm not going to say it wasn't scary, but it was also pretty exhilarating and it felt very empowering. And here was this big surprise. The big surprise was that when I did tell my secrets, all of those fears about people shunning me, they didn't come true. What I found was the exact opposite. Instead of getting messages of judgment, I still to this day constantly have people messaging me saying, thank you for sharing your story because I could relate to this part of it. Or I'd never heard it articulated that way before and I get it. Or I feel less alone. Or I can't share my story, but it helps me so much to know that someone else has experienced that too. There's so much power in connecting with people. And I think the worst thing is when you're going through something and you feel like you're the only one, it's very isolating. And that's what keeps you in shame. But when you realize, no, there are other people who've been through what I've been through and they're okay, then you realize that you can be okay too. I also found that there were so many people who messaged me and said, I had no idea. I had no idea what was going on in your life. And it really, we're told that all the time that we don't know what's going on in someone else's life, but I think we still think we do. Social media makes us feel like we do. And then when you read someone's story and you find out that it's not at all what you're expecting, I think it does remind us of that lesson that we need to be kind and we need to be compassionate because we truly don't know what's going on in someone else's life and what they could be dealing with. But it was so liberating. And I say it's because I found out what it's like to ruin your own reputation. I mean, I felt like I was deciding to ruin my own reputation because all of those secrets that I kept fiercely protected, the image of myself that I kept protected, I was shattering that. And it's the best thing I ever did.
And so, I mean, if for those of you that want to know about Marci's book, and you can pick that up and she'll give us all the deets. It's The Good Stripper, a soccer mom's memoir of lies, loss, and lap dances. I mean, you'd lived a double life.
I did. And I will say that the dancing part of it was a small part of a very big story, but it was part of the double life that I led where I had just dealt with a multitude of traumas. And I got to a point where I felt that I was living with two purposes. One was to be the best mother I could be to the two toddlers that I had, and I wanted their lives to be the best that it could be. I had lost my mother quite young, and I almost died when I was younger. And I just wanted every minute of their life where they felt loved and special and appreciated. And I worked hard at that. But I also felt very unworthy and unloved myself. And I felt that the only way to find self-worth was through the sexualization of my body. And so I confused being sexual with being sexualized and did fall into this double life of being what I wanted to be, the perfect mom, while also being this kind of town vixen on the side and going days without sleeping, trying to keep up both roles.
Wow. So if anybody wants to get Marci's book, you're going to have a riveting read. And so, I mean, there's so many things that I need to ask you, but of course, we have limited time today. We're going to definitely have to have you back and talk more. Who or what is your inspiration?
I will say, and it sounds like such a typical answer, but I'm going to say it's my mom. And I lost my mom when I was 28 years old. And I think I understand her more now in my 50s than I even did then. And we were very, very close, but I think there's still only so much you can understand at each stage of your life. And my mother had been through hell. She had a really, really challenging life. And yet she was love personified. She was the one that my friends went to when they couldn't speak with their own parents. She was somebody who taught me from a very young age, nobody is superior nor inferior to anybody else for any reason. She told me that I had a voice and the right to use it. She was somebody who, no matter what life threw at her, she let me see her, feel it, but it didn't change who she was at her core. My mother used to say that people don't change, they modify. So a nasty older person was probably a nasty younger person. You know, life can change you a little bit, but who you are at your core is who you are. And that helped me through, because I knew that I used to say I peaked when I was 8 years old because I liked myself when I was a little girl. Then I went through so many years of hating myself. And I had to remember that I was still that little girl, that I still had all those qualities that I loved. I just had to believe in that so I could find my way back.
Amazing. And if you could give one piece of advice or a mantra for the listeners to take away with them today, what would that be?
Let fear go and stop trying to live up to other people's expectations. We got one go around. Don't worry about disappointing anybody else. Do it your way.
Yeah, I mean, and that it's often difficult for many people. And I guess that's one of the things. It's
not as scary as I see. That's the thing. It's not as scary as you think it's going to be. It's not. And it's so worth it.
Right. And so what's coming up for you? Where can they find you? Where can they find your book?
Okay. So if they want to find me for my resiliency coaching, I am at, very easy, marciwarhaft.com. Just check me out there and give me a shout. For my book, you can go to thegoodstripper.com and you'll have access to Amazon and also Audible. It's a paperback, Kindle, and an audiobook that I read. Or it's also in stores in Chapters Indigo.
Wow.
But if you go to thegoodstripper.com, yeah, and I'm all over social media, as you see.
Yes, you are.
It's very easy to find me.
It's easy to find you, and you're such an inspiration to so many. And I do want people to know how courageous and how resilient you are, and how you've learned those strategies is professionally and also personally through the School of Hard Knocks.
Well, you know what it comes down to is this. There are people who will say to me all the time after they read my book, especially, they'll say, oh my God, I don't know how you survived. I couldn't survive half of what you went through. And you know what? I disagree. I think that I just didn't have a choice. If somebody had come to me when I was 15 years old and said, okay, Marci, this is what the rest of your life is going to look like, I wouldn't have said, all right, it'll be challenging, but I can do it. I would have said, no, I don't want it. I can't, there's no way. But I didn't have a choice. And I think we are all stronger than we give ourselves credit for. And I say all the time, I don't believe that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I don't believe any of that. I don't believe that my trauma made me stronger. My trauma took me away from who I was. My resiliency, that's what kept me alive. I don't give credit to my trauma. I give credit to my resiliency. But it was always there. I just didn't know it. My traumas made me prove it. And so I believe that we are all so much stronger than we give ourselves credit for. And that's really important to know.
Wow. That's an amazing, you know what? That's an amazing way to end the interview today, because it is the resilience that really makes the difference. So I wanted to thank you so much for being on the show today. I would love to have you back. And for anybody that wants to find Marci, she is all over social media, all over. You just see her, and you can see her. And we will also have a blog on soulfullyblonde.com with all her deets, and you can check out the show. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been an unbelievable pleasure and an honor. Such an honor for me to be here. I'm so excited that you asked me, and I will be back. You will be back. And thank you all for tuning in today. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Soulfully Blonde. To stay connected with Carol Starr Taylor, go to soulfullyblonde.com and tune in Tuesdays to the live show, weekly at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, or catch the replay. You can also subscribe, share, and rate the podcast on your favorite platform. To be a guest and or a sponsor, contact Carol at www.soulfullyblonde.com. Until next time, remember, there is a star in all of us. Keep growing and glowing.